This event just shows me that Jane is like a drowning person. She is grabbing for anything. I'm not special in her eyes. She just sees me as something that she can use to keep afloat. After every contact with Jane, I just see how much darker and black her soul is. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, we're doing part 4 and, sadly, the final update to the story, titled Terminal Man Discovers His Wife is Cheating and Spends Final Days Making Sure She Doesn't Get His Money. And guys, a quick review, because this has been an ongoing story since before Christmas. This is about the guy who's in his, I believe, late 60s, and found out right before Christmas that he is stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he does not have much time left before his number is up. And also the same day that his wife of 20 years is cheating on him. Now, the one fortunate thing is this is not the mother of his children and obviously grandmother of his grandchildren, but still wife of 20 years. And instead of having a meltdown, this guy handles it like a boss. He keeps it quiet about his terminal condition, and he goes about this whole process of contacting his attorney, getting things rolling to divorce her because he knows his number's up. Has a great Christmas with his family because he knew it was going to be his final Christmas, plans everything accordingly, and eventually gets everything right with the lawyer, gets all the proof he needs, and then tells the kids what's going on, and then boom, strikes. And he kicks her to the curb. And also, I might add, this guy is super rich. Very experienced businessman, very wise guy, because he shares his, not a wise guy, but a very wise individual. He's not a mafia guy. And he shares his wisdom throughout his stories. There's been many, many updates about this guy and his life, about life in general, people and all that. A very good guy who we all want to see do well and be happy. And he's spending his final days tying up loose ends, being with his family and all that. And this is going to be the final update to where things go. And where things left off, the wife was kicked to the curb. He did this whole elaborate process where he presented his information to her at a freaking restaurant with his lawyer nearby. The kids are going to obviously inherit everything, kids, grandkids, and everything. And he's really handling it in a way that I don't want to do any extra things to save my life. I know my number's up, and I just want to just enjoy my time, whatever time I have left. So now here's the update as to where things go. Both in his situation, with some pieces of wisdom, and I'm sorry to say, his final update. Says here, I'm still here, but it's been a bit rough. I'm now home, but I did spend a few days in the hospital. I was found unconscious, but still breathing, so they took me to the ER. I do have a do not resuscitate order, but I never died. I've always hated hospitals, but now with my diagnosis, I really hate hospitals. I don't want to die in there. I've been at home for a while now. I can no longer drive off the farm. Really, they don't want me to drive on the farm at all. But I'm determined to keep on doing my chores and seeing the sunrise and sunset as long as I can. I've had a full-time home care health workers, or as I call them, babysitters, but I'm not going to fight with the family on that one at all. This guy's condition is rapidly declining, as you can see for you guys who have been following this guy's story. So sad. Guy like this should live to be 100 years old, but instead he's sadly caught this disease in his, I believe, late 60s, maybe his early 70s. And he says, so basically, I don't remember anything until I woke up in the hospital. Most of my family and Carol were in the room. I was stable by then, and the doctors just wanted to observe me for a day or two, and of course run more tests to be sure. I had either my twins, Sarah, or Carol with me for almost the entire time. There was one night when no one was with me, and I woke up with Jane in my room. I guess she pulled the wife card on duty, and an on-duty nurse did not know what to let her in. She is the last person he wants to see is freaking... They're obviously not divorced yet, but he's divorcing her to show up there in his hospital room. I was tired, but she was playing the sweet and devoted wife. Not so sweet and devoted when she was hooking up with a business partner of his for over a year. I don't know why, and then I realized she was holding my hand and stroking my head. I pulled away. She was hurt. She then started the new refrain of being so sorry that she did not mean anything she said to him, and she was trying to use him, etc. Her lover. I just sat there not engaging. This upset her. She demanded that I talk to her. She was just loud enough to catch the nurse's attention. This guy is literally any day from him passing away. And he's in the hospital because he blacked out and all that. And she's making demands of him. This, again, these things show how much of a selfish asshole she is. And how it's so great that a lot of guys would have just stayed with her to the end. But no. He's kicking her to the curb. She ain't getting my money. Oh no, hell no. And she shows up and she's making demands of him. Fuck you. We're divorcing. The nurse knows Jane's demeanor and my uncomfortableness. The nurse was smooth. She tells Jane to wait outside because she needs to perform some basic checks. Or as he says, some BS checks. Once Jane was out of the room and the door was closed, the nurse asked me if I was okay. I told her that Jane was my ex-wife and there should be notes for her not to be allowed. She apologized and asked me if she wants me to do the limit of my wants me to do to my limit of my stress. I asked her to call my emergency contacts. She did. And about 45 minutes later, Sarah, my daughter, and Carol walk in the room. By then, Jane is back and still spewing her BS, but at a very quiet level. This poor guy, I'd say to him, get the hospital security and get her old ass out of this room right now. Once Jane sees them, she knows that she needs to leave. I quietly ask her to just go. None of the other patients deserve her making a scene. To stop thinking about herself and just leave. I'm very thankful that she quietly leaves, but she first gives me a quick peck on the forehead. I recoiled a bit, but if I had to accept that for the peace of the other patients, so be it. Now understand this guy is old and in the hospital and worn down. He barely has enough energy to speak, let alone tear around and get into a fight. And so of course she's there when she knows he can't make an argument and fight back. The women in my life profusely apologized to me. Honestly, I cannot be mad at them. They have their own lives. They all figured out a schedule to make sure that I was not left alone again. And I'm sure my daughter thanked the nurse for calling them, while at the same time letting the staff know her anger for letting Jane in when they had specific instructions to the contrary. Yeah, exactly. Now, sure, they have a lot of people to deal with the hospital, but quite frankly, I'd be using some of that wealthy money to put a freaking bodyguard outside the door and not let that crazy wacko anywhere near this guy in his final days. This event just shows me that Jane is like a drowning person. She's just grabbing for anything. I'm not special in her eyes. She just sees me as something she can use to keep afloat. After every contact with Jane, I just see how much darker and black her soul is. Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's great that he kicked her to the curb even in his final days. And she is getting as little of his money as possible. The affair partner is still much of a jackass as he was before. His accounting department has seen where the wind is blowing, and in meetings with my daughter, pretty much gave her an entire picture. There's no criminal activity by the affair partner in his business. It is clear that he was using every perk and loophole to increase his income over his base pay at the expense of the bottom line. So when my daughter takes control, he will realize a 60% reduction of value to him from the company. And that really pisses him off. This is the guy that was banging his wife, and Mr. Flamboyant, who likes to flaunt his wealth, or what he wants everybody to think he's wealthy. I have a feeling she might just outright fire him and move him to a silent minority owner role. So his flashy lifestyle is going to hit a brick wall. He has threatened lawsuits, but has not brought any action yet. I think his credit and our reputation in that area is shot to hell. Carol has been more of a permanent fixture in my life. I have to say I don't mind the company and companionship. Maybe she is wearing me down. She's been staying over several days to a week. I hope to bounce back sooner than later. But since I cannot drive anymore, I'm going to have to lean on others more. This is uncharted waters for me. Carol's been eagerly volunteering to support me in this area. And before you ask, no, there's nothing physical going on between us other than sitting close together. Thank you all for your continued support. So that was the end of the first update. And Carol's the one that was a friend, his friend, who he introduced to his wife back in the day. They became friends. And then the wife admitted to Carol that she'd been cheating on him when she was drunk, and Carol demanded she told this guy, go tell this guy, but she wouldn't. She denied the whole thing. So this woman here went to him telling him what was going on, but he already knew, if you all recall. And I've speculated, a lot of you had, this woman is trying to get close with him because she knows how damn wealthy he is. And some people say she's just being a good friend, but I'm so freaking cynical and untrustworthy of anybody and their motives, especially when people know you have money, that I just don't buy this whole thing. But I hope I'm wrong. Next update. Now he says this is titled Another Rambling from an Old Man. Now he's going to get some very good, wise life lessons from a guy who's lived a long time and experienced a lot. And that'd be a really good one to read. And I agree with a lot of what he says. He says here, I've been taking it easy for the first few days since getting home. I'm going to make a follow-up on my previous post. Again, this post is going to be on my profile. My family has probably heard of all this from me before, but I want to put it here for you and them. If my family's reading this, I love you very much. In the first post, we talk about what we have control of, honesty and money. You will find that all my thoughts will come from one root source, the source of humility. Fortunately, early in my life, the world hit me hard. It took a bit, but I was forced to learn humility. And that lesson blossomed into a mindset that served me well for the rest of my life. Knowledge is king. I spent my life learning. If you think you're the smartest person in the room, first, you are in the wrong room. And second, you are full of shit. No one can know everything. I know when I meet someone, I can learn something from them. It takes 10,000 hours of practice to master a complex skill. It is impossible for any of us to master everything. Very wise words. And yet, you got people out there, and I've known guys like this and gals like this, that no matter what it is, they know better. They know how to do it faster, cheaper, easier, whatever subject it is, they know everything. And they have to make sure everybody knows it. They're the most insecure jackasses you're ever going to meet. They'll never admit it. And people like that, I just walk away from. So if you think you're the smartest person in the room, get over yourself and also ask yourself who knows more about another topic in that room than you. And ask them about that. You'll be amazed at what you can learn from someone when they are in their element. On the other side, when someone asks you for information, be willing to share and pass on your knowledge. In life, business, and anything else, surround yourself with people smarter than you. Very wise words. For you aspiring entrepreneurs out there and businessmen, you want your circle, your inner circle, your board of directors, your bro, whatever, to be better than you at something. It will help you grow. Okay? Yeah, sometimes when we're around people that are smarter than us, it kind of drives us crazy a little bit, but you're learning. They're helping you. Trust me. The only stupid question is the one not asked. Learn something new every day. Yes. Be in the moment. That has two parts. Truly hearing someone and enjoying the moment. Let's start with cherishing the moment. There's a mindset I've seen with some of my younger coworkers and really society in general in the you only live once mentality. And with that mentality, they spend time collecting experiences. The problem with this mindset is they spend so much time planning and documenting the experiences like a collection that they just don't spend time enjoying the experience. Hey, freaking men. Any guys ever been on vacation or near a vacation spot where you're supposed to be relaxing, enjoying yourselves, or some place where there's something amazing going on or amazing sight, and people are all there on their freaking phones? They're recording it, taking all these pictures that they're probably never going to watch, and so just sitting back, taking it all in, enjoying the experience. I have very few pictures because I'm taking everything in. The pictures and the videos are all in here and in here. I've traveled from time to time, and I had more enjoyment sitting in a cafe and watching the locals or having a wonderful conversation with someone I just met. I lived in that moment. I might not have climbed the Eiffel Tower, did a gondola ride in the canals, or any other bucket list events, but I've had a great meal with people I cared about. Had a long discussion with a farmer at a quaint cafe in the Italian countryside. These moments have become a part of me and part of why I say I have a life well lived. Well, that's great, man. But you should have walked up the Eiffel Tower because that's pretty fun. And no, you cannot walk all the way to the top of the Eiffel Tower. You can walk up to the middle. That's enough. You take the elevator to the very top because, yes, I walked up the Eiffel Tower, and that was very cool. The second part of this is listening, or better hearing. This has been a lifelong struggle. When I was younger, I spent my time in a conversation trying to figure out where I can work my knowledge into the conversation to impress the ones I was talking to. I did this all while they were giving me wonderful nuggets of information from their life experiences. I so wish to this day I paid more attention. I still suffer from this flaw, but from another source. My mind can at times run a mile a minute, as do many businessmen. So when I'm thirsty for knowledge, I can get in the mode of thinking of follow-up questions instead of really hearing what the person is telling. I have to actively stop myself. All this should change you for the positive. We always are growing. Learning new knowledge or adding an experience will change you, most likely ever so slightly. This should just make you a more interesting, compassionate, and wise person. Never stop becoming a wonderful person. Also, be a part of the cycle for others. One other important part of this is time for self-reflection. Make sure you spend time by yourself, just thinking about what you've learned through others and your experiences. Let that process go through your humility filter. You will find that just spending a few minutes that day builds clarity. I use my watching the sunset and sunset for some of that. You can journal if you like. I generally just have an inward dialogue. These are very wise words. A lot of young people don't want to listen to the wise words of people that are older. You have that okay boomer crap. It's like, have some freaking respect. I mean, just, the saying is youth is wasted on the young. With all the knowledge and experiences people that are much older have, if they can go back to their younger selves or just start over with all that knowledge and wisdom they've collected over the decades, oh my God. You want to talk about a life being well lived after all that. He says, I think this completes the foundations for my life. I really am just a simple person with simple principles. But if you have questions, I can always see if I have anything worthwhile to answer with you. I love you all. These are great pieces of wisdom. Now, guys, the final update here. And I'm sorry to say that this was actually written by this guy's son, because the guy that wrote this passed away. I thought this guy would live on for another year, the way he was going, but unfortunately, things withered down. So I'm about to read here is a message from his son. It says here, I'm sorry to have to tell you all, my dad passed away this past week. I've been reading his posts and responses as I can for the past few days. I hear him so clearly in his posts and responses. One of his requests was to give you a letter from him. Wow, this guy was really finding such peace sharing his story online, having guys give him suggestions and be there for him, that he specifically, before he passed, wrote a letter to have his son post online. Wow. He says, my Reddit family. Well, if you're reading this letter, you know my time here is at an end. As you've suggested, I'd written letters to all my family members and also created videos for them as well. While answering your post, I started referring to you as my Reddit family. That got to me thinking that I needed to write one final letter. That letter is to all of you. I want to thank you for all your support and suggestions. This short time has been so important to me and will clearly be important to my family long after I'm gone. You have helped me achieve my final gift to myself and to the family, this last Christmas week as a family. Without having somewhere to vent and gain support, I would have had time to turn to my, I would have had to turn to my family. And doing that would have meant abandoning my goal. My family might not see that as a gift right now, but they will in the future. That helped him have his final Christmas and holidays with his family, not having to talk about his disease, because his stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the situation with his wife, so he could vent online, get suggestions from all you guys out there, and then have his final Christmas. I'm so glad that happened for him. When guys send me in their stories from my other channel, Strong Successful Male, where they post their stories online, it really is therapy for them. They feel better. And when they get guys to respond and help them, it really helps them come up with solutions and find peace. He says, I cannot tell you how much I enjoy making those little videos. My family will have another small piece of me, and that is thanks to all you. I would have not done any of those silly little videos about your suggestions and encouragement. Honestly, I would not have even thought of it myself. I do one request from you all. My family will be going through many emotions. I know that part of putting my story out there is for you to want a conclusion. Please allow my family to grieve and keep the request for updates to an acceptable minimum. I've asked them to give you this letter, and if they feel they could, give you a final update on Jane. That is the final update. The final update is up to them. I've asked them. I just ask that you all be patient. And finally, I wish you all the best. All the love I can provide from the great beyond. Remember, none of us are promised tomorrow. Know yourself and be good to those around you. I hope none of you suffer the road I had to walk, but if you do, I will anyway walk with you. Remember, you are all worth so much. Never let anyone tell you anything different. I will send you many virtual hugs as I can for wherever I end up. Saying thank you at times feels so inadequate, but it is at the words I have right now. Thank you. I hope we meet in the great beyond, just not too soon. So there you go, guys. I'm sure obviously you weren't expecting that and had the story end this way, but I honestly thought he would definitely be around another year. And I'm sorry to see him go. And again, this is a guy that really acted like a freaking boss in the situation. And I'm so glad he had a thing he could vent on Reddit, and then I could read a story on here, stories. And I really hope he's at peace, and I'm sure he is. And I'm just glad he had Christmas to spend with his sons and children and grandchildren and all that, and kicked that a-hole to the curb. But notice he said in his final letter, yeah, let the family move on, but then they maybe can write an update and let all the guys on Reddit know about what happened to Jane. That's how much he wants to stick it to her in the end. So guys, that's a brother that's now gone, but you know what? A lot can be learned. So if you guys have been watching this all along, definitely remember some of the lessons he had, the ones I just read right now about life and experiences and all those types of things. Really is important to learn from those that have been around for a long time. Heart is with him. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you come across a really good story like to share, by all means, email it to me. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it. I will when I get the chance. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.